You have so much
Yeah.
faith in people to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to trust you to train
Oh,
you to do
that's
something
hard.
properly. And
It's really hard. It's a huge mindset. When most people come to me for like agency coaching, like they're trying to grow their team and they want to build things out, that is the hardest thing. I don't know how to give these people things and let them touch my stuff and then trust that they're not going to mess everything up. The training, having like videos and things like that are very helpful because most people can pick up almost everything from that. They can ask you questions, but then just knowing that my kind of motto is, if they mess up, I must not have explained it correctly. Like, I must not have been clear, because if I was clear and I explained it correctly, then that's a different issue. But that's usually not the issue.
Hey, Entreleaders. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of the Leaders Lab podcast. If you are new here, my name is Dr. Charity C. Campbell, better known as Dr. C, and I'm a doctor of management, a world-class millennial global leader, academic professional, and multi-passionate entrepreneur. And here in the Leaders Lab, we talk all things entreleadership, communication, and balance as a millennial professional. This is a very special episode, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because if you're not seeing the results that you want in your business, and if you're like most entrepreneurs, you're probably frustrated because you're not seeing those results, especially the ones that you have in your mind, like, this is the goal that I have, so this is the result that I'll end up getting. But don't worry, you're not alone. In today's episode, our guest is going to show you why that might be, why you might not be getting the results that you're looking for, and more importantly, what you can do to change it. So go ahead, grab your cup of coffee, tea, whatever it is you need, along with something to take notes with, because you're not going to want to let all of this treasure pass you by. Join us as we talk about the necessity of strategic systems and mindset issues that many entrepreneurs experience with growing a team and delegating tasks. Now, let me introduce our special guest. After business school and a decade spent on Wall Street, Kelly Reynolds thought that there had to be more than life than a terrible commute. She started out as a virtual assistant and quickly grown the company that she now has into Reynolds OBM Agency. As an operations strategist, Kelly finds that many small businesses are a mess with systems and financials. They can't find the things, and all the knowledge is here up in their heads. So they either can't get help, or they do get help, but they have problems with delegating, which I know from firsthand is very overwhelming. Now, Kelly says that she is a systems nerd who runs an agency that helps other people get their business in shape. And so I know that she is definitely going to be helping us today. She and her team now help small businesses grow by getting organized and efficient. And this is the best part about it: no commute required. No commute required. Not only that, but she lives in New Jersey. She lives there with her husband, her son, and adorable dog, Opie. She loves pretty spreadsheets and people who bring red wine. She would love me, especially to business meetings and play dates. Ladies and gentlemen, Entreleaders, please help me welcome to the lab none other than our very special guest, Kelly Reynolds. Welcome to the Leaders Lab, love.
Hello. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Listen, that red wine got me. I was like, now I know I prepared for this introduction, but seeing the red wine once again just made me chuckle. It's like, she loves people who bring red wine now.
Kids are hard. Business is hard. You need a glass of wine once in a while to get through it.
I say the same thing, but at any rate, there's some people who are watching right now who, they're like, no, you need to stop. But at any rate, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
I am thrilled to be here.
So let me get this straight. You were on Wall Street, working on Wall Street for 10 years, and you left.
Yeah. I was at Lehman Brothers. So if you might have
Okay.
heard of it, it was in the news where it caused a global catastrophe with our economy when it went bankrupt. So I was there and I was really burnt out. I had been working as an operations person for a large brokerage team of brokers. And we had
Okay.
like $1 billion under management. And there was a lot of paperwork and a lot of
Wow.
stress and all of that. So I got really burnt out and they were laying people off and I volunteered. I was like, I need out of here. I just need out of here. I had no plan. And I love a plan. I love a plan. And I didn't have a plan. I was like, I'm so burnt out. I have to leave. And I came home.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't do anything in business for a little while. And then I was like, okay, my brain I need to feel smart again. So I wanted to start working again in like business. And that's when I created my business.
Wow. Wow. And so you started off as a virtual assistant. So, kind of walk us through this whole thing from the leaving of Wall Street. Was there like a period of time to where you were like, "Hey, I'm not working right now. I just want to enjoy life a little bit. I just want to relax, not do any type of work." Was there that like, hiatus that you had?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, when you leave Wall Street for a little while, they give you some time. They pay you to be off for a little bit. So I
Okay.
was laid off a week before my birthday. I sat at the beach for a bunch. I started a
Wow.
company refinishing furniture for a while, just because I didn't want to do anything business, like businessy business, And then I was like, okay, this isn't actually a business. I can't finish furniture forever. I had my son. It's hard to paint with a kid on your shoulder, and that's when I was like, okay. And I really wanted to get into what I was really good at. I'm really good at operations, and
Hmm.
I didn't know how to get into that from home. I didn't know how to do that. And
Okay.
I started looking at being a virtual assistant because that was the only thing I could think of. Like that was the only thing I was
Wow.
hearing about. And then once I started to starting down that path, then all this kind of opportunity opened up. Then it was like I started building my agency. Then there was management, OBM, like all the other steps kind of started from there. And I got certified as an online business manager. And then I just kept building from there. And then I got certified as a director of operations. And, like those kind of things as you kind of just upscale or
Yeah.
level up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can definitely say level up on this podcast. It's perfectly fine. We allow that. So, an online business manager, you have to listen. I'm a doctor of management, so you're going to have to walk me through this because I like when you said it, like I have all types of like light bulbs popping off right now. Like you have no idea, no idea. Like I'm just like, did she say online business man? A director of operations? Like, wait, what? Okay, you are now introducing me to a whole new world, which I
Oh,
am very
good.
grateful for. So, what is this?
Okay. So being a virtual assistant is usually the person who does the implementation of things, sends the emails, creates a spreadsheet. And if you want to start getting into more management, more kind of delegating and
Yeah,
planning instead of the one doing,
yeah,
then you're kind of moving into this online business manager role. And that can be anything because it's such a broad term. You can be in marketing, you can be in podcast development, like all different kind of things, but you're basically being more of a manager to that team or to the owner, the visionary, if you want to call it.
yeah,
And then I
yeah.
think the next level up there is the director of operations, where you're much more in the strategy of it. There's actually
Okay.
a process called strategic mapping that director of operations do. That it's a
Hmm.
strategy and planning that much more, and a little managing as well,
Wow.
but less implementing. So it's kind of that scaling up from there, so that you are supporting the business owner.
Wow. I mean, it's basically like what you would do offline, but just online,
Hmm. Yeah,
remotely.
yeah, yeah, without having to like be in corporate and go to the office.
You can do anything from online. Like
You
what in the
can. I think
world?
that's what COVID has taught us, though, right? Like everybody who said that you couldn't do anything, you can. And a lot
Yeah.
of us can do it for ourselves instead of having to work. I worked in a crazy male dominated office. I had a 4 hour a day commute. I hated most of it. Like I liked the work, but I hated the
Wow.
the stuff, all the stuff
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
And being a girl there wasn't exactly the easiest thing. So being able to do that fun work that I love to do, like doing that operations work, but
Yeah.
not having to deal with all the rest of the stuff I didn't love is like a dream. So
Yeah.
yeah. And now
Oh
I'm
my
talking to you from my
goodness.
office at my house.
I know. Like, I mean, I love it. I love it. Now, you mentioned COVID. Did you start your business prior to COVID, like before COVID, or
Oh,
was
yeah.
it?
I
Wow.
started
So you weren't impacted negatively, were you?
No, it actually was a good time for online business owners, online business like management. I started in April of 2016 as a virtual assistant.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I've been home for a long time, and
Yeah.
working around. Because I could work around having my son and being around, and I can make all the school plays or all the things,
Yeah.
And COVID, we were already set up for this. We didn't have to figure out how to do this
Wow.
from home. So
Yeah.
my other businesses, they were like, okay, I need you to help me deal with my teams who are now home that used to be in an office. Like, you know how to do this already. You're already running a team. I have a team of 7 at this point, and we've never met each other except for my husband and my mom. She's one of my
Yeah.
first team members.
Yeah.
Everyone else I've never even been in the same room with, and we run this whole thing.
Wow.
So yeah, it's COVID has really taught us how much you can get done and not have to be in an office.
Wow, a team of 7. So when you first started out, was the team just 3? You, your husband, and your mom, or
My husband wasn't even in it. It was just my mom. I was like, "Mom, I have
wow.
so much work." And she's like this brilliant treasury person at one of
Mhm.
the biggest nonprofits in the world. And she was like, "I could use some extra work." So I just started teaching her how to do things. She was my
Wow.
first subcontractor.
And so when you have these, how did you find most of your team? Were they interns, or did you have people who were experienced?
I think it's a mix. I
Okay.
tend to hire inexperienced people because I hire much more for their like how they're going to fit into my culture here on the team, how we're going to work
I love it.
together. Much more like the commitment, the showing up, the detail oriented. Like that's much more important to me than if you know a system. I can teach you how to use, Excel or
Yeah.
Teamwork, which is our project management system. Like I can teach you that kind of stuff, and I'm fine doing that because I love to teach, and I love to help
Okay.
other women grow their businesses. So they are all contractors as well, growing their businesses. So I like to hire for personality and fit more than skill.
So all of your team members are subcontractors.
Mhm.
They're not
Yeah.
like full-time employees.
Nope. At this point, we run a very lean kind of business. We Contractors are supposed to kind of come in and know what they're doing and work and do their thing, right? And I like that.
Mhm.
They like being able to come in and handle the work that they have. And I like not having to micromanage and having meetings all day. That is like
Yes.
that makes my skin crawl. I want to be able to like
Right.
board on a nice day. So, yeah, we're all pretty like we run lean. We know what's going on. They do their work. It's great.
I mean, I love it. I'm listening and I'm just like, oh, she has it. Like she has the genius for this thing right now. Like this is so you've created this environment. You've created this career for yourself, if that's what you want to call it, for your
Yeah.
with your own business that allows you to it gives you all the freedom that you want, the freedom you desire. How do you set boundaries to keep focused on like what's important in your life, and then to make sure you are disciplined, that you're not how do you make sure you have those boundaries and balance? Because honestly, I think for some of us, and maybe it's just me, but some of us, when we do experience that burnout from all the other things, we don't want to do anything, even when it's with our own business. So how do you find the balance between the two, and then how do you set those boundaries so you say, listen, Kelly, I got to be focused on this today. I need to, this is what's most important. Help us out.
Yeah, I will say in the beginning, I was not good at it. Like I was on my computer was always open on the kitchen table, that kind of thing. And I got to the point where I realized that was burnout. So
Wow.
I get up every morning and I take a shower and I get dressed and I go to my office and I work.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I walk out of my office and I stop working. And I had to put
Okay.
those boundaries on because it was it was never ending. I also
Wow.
have very strict office hours for answering clients. My clients know that they will not get an answer after after 4 o'clock at night. So it's 9 to 4 during the day, and
Okay.
they don't talk to me on weekends unless it's an emergency. But none of this is like, they're not ambulance drivers. Like there's no emergencies, right? It's like if they need an
Right.
invoice, it'll be Monday. And I think also
Right.
realizing that there really aren't a lot of emergencies that are really
Mhm.
emergencies. So
Okay.
strict office hours, not looking at Slack, even on my phone
Oof.
outside of those, which is real hard. Um,
Yeah.
I will say, like, if we take a Friday afternoon, I try to take as many Friday afternoons off as possible. We live about a mile from the water. So
Oh.
paddleboarding, just going for a drink. We have bubble Fridays here. So
Oh,
we have
okay.
bubbles to celebrate our week. I will look at Slack for those things to check in with my team, but like 4 o'clock hits and that's it. And I have
Okay.
to do that because otherwise my kid is like, Mom, you're still on your phone. So
Oh,
yeah. So, and I am terrible. I could tend into workaholicism, whatever that is. I could tend in that really easily. So I have to keep strict boundaries on myself. I have to say, that's it. So going into the office and leaving the office is a huge thing for me.
wow. Yeah, I have an office. I come in just for like teaching and for recording and all of those when I do my live streams. But when I tell you I work everywhere around my home, it's ridiculous. Like I will go just earlier, and I'm not ashamed to tell myself, but just earlier I was laying in bed, which I haven't done that in such a long time. I have a rule about not being in my bed from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. That's why as soon as I get up, I make up my bed and I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not messing this bed back up. I'm not getting back in it. But lately, because it's the end of the semester, thankfully, I finished the end of the semester. It's the end of the semester, and I was just so tired. And I'm like, I got a couple of things I need to do. I'm just gonna lay in bed, type for a little bit, and then go to sleep. You have so much discipline. I admire that.
You know what? Getting up and showering and doing your hair is one of the ways you don't go back to bed because you're like, I just did my
Yeah.
hair. Now I'm not
Oh
going to go
yeah.
mess it up by laying down. Like those are the little things. It's like when you're sad and you don't want to cry and you put mascara on, like so that you don't cry with mascara down your face. Like little tiny things that are like, okay, I'm not going to mess this up, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
But
know?
no, the times that I do get back and bake is usually in the evening when it's time for me, when my body is saying, "Hey, we should go to sleep," whether it's because I'm being sluggish or lazy or whatever. But it's after, so most of the time when I'm working outside of my office, it's gosh, I sound like such a slacker right
No, you
now.
don't.
Like I'm
No,
sitting,
you don't. This is totally
but
normal.
it is in front of the television. Oh my gosh, I am downstairs and I'm literally laying in my favorite part of the couch, which has my imprint right there. My body is imprinted right there. Like it's molded, okay? This is just my body mold. I sit there all the time and I work.
I will do that.
Oh,
So
wow.
my office is a sunroom and it gets real cold in the winter. So I will do that in the winter. I have to do that. Like you have to adapt. And I try not to be so militant about things. Like I'm
Yeah.
always like when I was on vacation, I made a reel and I was like, sometimes you have to break your boundaries. Like I wasn't supposed to be working this week. We went away with my
Yeah.
family, but my client wanted to have this call and it ended up being a big deal for us.
Wow.
We like did this big deal with him on a call at like 9 a.m. on vacation. And if I was so extra strict, that wouldn't have happened. So I
Yeah.
kind of, as you get to places, you kind of have to adapt a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
It
Leave
can't
room
be,
for flexibility.
yeah. Because you never know. Like something awesome could come. And if you're like, oh no, I never talked to anyone before 9 a.m. and it's like 8:55, like, all right, come
Yeah.
on, 5 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
think that's the hard part is like getting too strict and being too rigid and then missing
Yeah.
opportunities as well.
So you've grown this agency from just being, starting out as a virtual assistant, and you are an online business manager, or really a director of operations for so many other companies and things like that. Like, what does your typical workday look like?
I am a operations nerd, so I like to write everything down. I have project management software, and it's wonderful, but I like to write everything down in my
Okay.
planner and have a to
Okay.
do list, and that's like the key to my day. It seems so
Okay.
nerdy, but that's how I start out. So in the morning, I'm getting my son off to school and getting myself ready to get ready for work. Come into my office, set my day, like kind of the intention for the day. Although I don't know if I like that word, but what I'm going to do for the day. And
Yeah.
then check in with my team, check in with my clients, see what I've got to do. And then I really try to get to work as much as possible, planning out what I
Mm,
need so that
okay.
I can really be done when he gets home from school. So he gets home around
Wow.
3:30 and I want to be done. So there are definitely times where he comes in and I've got to get other stuff done. but I try to map out my day as best as I can so that I can get my things done so I could see my kid. Because that was the whole point of having this business, was so that I wasn't stuck in the city away from him.
In terms of task or systems and management, what do you do? How are you the Wonder Woman to these companies who they're like, we need you. We really need your help. We need your systems.
So we are huge on systems and being able to find everything. Most businesses, they're a mess because they don't know how to do this stuff. Like, this is my nerd thing. Lots of visionary people who are this is not their nerd thing, right? That's why we usually work together really well. We usually come in and have these dashboards that we put together where everything from the company can be found. So you can delegate to people. It's easy for training. You can find things like even just filling out like a podcast application and needing to know where all your Instagram links or all the things are, having all that in one place. So you can just go doop, doop, doop. That's like 5 seconds to fill something out instead of a half an hour of searching for things. Little things like that. But a lot of it is documentation and making it accessible and findable so that everyone can find it.
That's awesome. I mean, listen, I'm sitting here, I'm like, I wonder if I can afford her.
We have lots of options.
I am telling you right now, because one of the things, and I have invested, this is the part where I know you could probably relate. I have invested in software. I have invested in content management software. I have invested in so many systems. I invested in programs and things like that. But guess what? I am one person. And this one person also teaches at university, also teaches private business classes. And it's just ridiculous. Honestly, it gets to be very, very overwhelming. And I know that I have clarity on my messages and my brands, but I feel like I don't have enough time. And I know there are probably some other small business leaders and entrepreneurs who are listening to this right now, and they can completely relate.
And this is not emergency stuff. So it's never really gets to the top of the totem pole, right?
No, it does not.
Yeah. And there's just no time. Like, you're busy running things. You don't have time to write an SOP all the time. So that's a lot of what we do is, one, we build in Drive. We build all the dashboards, all the systems in Drive, because when you're growing and scaling a business, things like software gets expensive. Like, when you have to pay for it for yourself, all right. But when you have to pay for 6 team members every month, that gets expensive. And if it's only for like storing SOPs and data, like, that's hard to swallow. So we build a lot of the stuff in Drive. It's links to sheets and docs so that it's very easy to share. You can share it with contractors without having to pay for a user fee. And then we start out that way. And then we start to build, we do a systems audit to kind of see where you are, what you got, what you don't, and then build out this dashboard so you can find everything. And then we start building those SOPs from videos you could make as you do the thing. Like, as you're paying the bill, you make a video of your screen, and then you give it to us and we take care of it from there. And then we build everything out from there. So you don't have to be in there. You just I have to get the knowledge out of your head. And then from there, we can take care of it. And then everything is shareable and findable.
I like that you said you have to get the knowledge out of the small business leader's head. Do you think that small business owners or, entrepreneurs have enough clarity on what they're doing? Like, they have enough clarity and the knowledge, in their heads for you to be able to extract, so that they actually know what they're doing, or so that you can know what they're doing and how to best help them.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think that there's the things that people think that they can't give away because they are the only ones who know how to do it. Right. Oh no, I have to do this. And there's a whole exercise we bring people through where we break down all the tasks in someone's business. We do this with our agency coaching people. We do this. It's one of those things where you just list out the tasks and then say if they can be delegated. And most people will say no to everything. And it's bull. Most of that can be delegated. But it's this mindset.
I'm the person. I feel so seen right now. Like, I feel so seen right now.
You are not alone. That's everyone.
She's like, that's bull. You can. I'm like, no, actually, because there's a certain way that I see it. There's a certain way that I want to design. And I'm just like, but there's No, I have to do that. That can't be delegated.
Well,
That
and
can't
there's
be
certain
delegated.
things, I mean, like recording your podcast, you should probably be there for that, right? Like there's certain
Yeah.
things that definitely should be you. But like being able to put the graphics together or even the little parts of it, not like managing the podcast. Like that's probably 50 different tasks. But like you maybe someone else could write the email or you could write the email and they could send the email. So like breaking all those little things out to find out what you can get help with and figuring out what you really need to do, because you don't really need to do all of the things.
Kelly.
But those are the
Kelly.
things, then taking that out of your head, right? Because you have to be able to train someone. And that's the scariest part. Someone else touching your stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I have to do that.
That
Yeah.
part, someone else touching your stuff. This
Yes.
is why many of us are frustrated, especially when we have the wrong mindset with delegation.
That's the
Because it's
biggest
like,
problem.
for me, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, it's like when you have an intern who asks you to, train them and teach them, and you do, like, you go through and they still don't come through. That's why I asked if you had like interns who are inexperienced, or do you hire experienced people instead? Because I've had, and this was my first time working with interns, training them. I feel like it's a waste of time if they're
Yes.
not going to just, they'll show up and do it, or do it as requested. I'm just like, I should have did all of this myself.
Well, if you had taken that knowledge out of your head, let's say there's videos, there's 5 things you want them to do. You make those
Yeah.
videos of those 5 things. You can actually even have them make the SOPs if that's their job role. Like a lot of times I'm hiring ops assistants. So I ask them to make the SOP and then I look it over and I can tell if they got it or not
Yeah.
because they wrote the SOP correctly.
Yeah.
And then from now on, everyone else who is ever going to want to learn that thing, they can watch the video and have the SOP. I don't have to be there for that training. And then
Yeah.
they can just ask me questions. And I'm always open for questions. They can ask me a million questions, but they tend not to have to because I've explained it really, really well. I explained it for someone who's never done it before and assuming
Yeah.
that they're coming in not knowing anything. And then that cuts my training time down an enormous amount. And that also means that someone else on my team can jump in if someone gets sick or they leave, because all of the documentation's there. So then I am not like, it's not like old school corporate where you sat next to somebody for like a week and they trained you and you wrote notes in your notebook. Like you don't have to do that. Like you can have this wealth of knowledge somewhere beside your head and then they can have access to it without having to take up all your time every day.
I feel like it's easier for some people than it is for
Yes.
than it is for others, because you have so much faith in people. You have so much faith in people to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to trust you to train you to do something
hard.
properly. And
It's really hard. It's a huge mindset thing. That when most people come to me for like agency coaching, like they're trying to grow their team and they want to build things out, that is the hardest thing. I don't know how to give these people things and let them touch my stuff and then trust that they're not going to mess everything up.
Yes.
And I will say that the training, having like videos and things like that are very helpful because most people can pick up almost everything from that. They can ask you questions, but then just knowing that my kind of motto is if they mess up, I must not have explained it correctly. Like I must not have been clear because if I was clear and I explained it correctly, then that's a different issue. But that's usually not the issue. So and it also saves me from being like, what do you mean? Why did you mess this up? That has helped my mindset as like a leader to say, I must not have explained this correctly. Let me explain it again. And that helps a lot.
So you put it back on yourself. Well, you're a responsible leader.
Well, I do because I think, all right, well, maybe I missed something. Maybe I didn't set expectations. Like maybe I asked them to do something and didn't give them a due date. So I expected to be done in 2 hours and they thought 3 weeks. Like that's not being clear. So I need to be more clear.
And then what if you do give them a deadline and they still miss the deadline?
Then we have a lovely conversation where I'm very nicely saying, I don't think I was clear about this. You have a deadline and I need this to be done. There is a culture here of excellence. Like we all work hard here and I take care of my team. I love them. I love on them. We had a virtual holiday party last year. Like I love them, but they also know to show up because I'm working just as hard as they are.
Yeah.
I'm still in the business. I'm not just delegating a whole bunch of terrible work to them. Like I'm still in
Yeah.
there. I'm working hard. So that culture of excellence, I think, really does carry through and help you here.
So how do you shift the mindset from being like me, being the anti-delegation leader, to being someone who, says, okay, let's go ahead and give it a shot. Let's see what you can do. How do you go from that one mindset of it's going to be a waste of my time, so I might as well do it and be exhausted and overwhelmed anyway, to, yeah, I'm going to let somebody else touch my stuff. Like sure, just don't break it. Like I'm going to let somebody else touch my stuff.
I will say I start slow. I still, to this day, especially with a new person, especially if I've hired someone without very much experience, I
Okay.
start slow. And even I will usually give them something in my own company before, like I have an agency, so they're client facing with my clients, and I don't want them to come in and mess something up, right?
Right.
So I give them stuff on my own team. Like I will give them personal stuff. Even if it really doesn't need to be done, sometimes it's like a test. It's a working test to see if they can log into Google. You would be amazed how that is the hardest thing for anyone coming from corporate to this space, to be able to log into 3 Google accounts and not lose their minds. Like that's the hardest thing. So like being able to like log in, find something, listen to instruction, check off the task in our project management software, like kind of give them a test through the stuff with my own stuff. And then and maybe not something so important, right? Like something you could just make it up really if you had to, like, oh, there's a thing I've been trying to do for a while and I haven't gotten to it. Let's give them that. And then see how it goes, and then give feedback and say, okay, was I not clear? Were they not understanding what's like, and then what's the problem? But start slow. Like I start a lot of people off at like a couple hours a week. Let's test this out. Let's see what's going on. And certain people haven't worked out. They haven't been able to like get with it. I'm no miracle worker. Like I don't have 100%. Like at the beginning, I was terrible at this. But like, starting slow is my number one thing.
Okay. So you start slow and you kind of give, you give these tasks as a test to see, if they're a good fit, not just with the company culture, but also just in general. Are they able to meet deadlines? Are they competent enough to learn what is being trained and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I hire for figure it outness. It's always in my job description, because a lot of life is just like, look, I don't know how to do this either. Can you figure this out? And they're like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Like that's a big part of being in this company. But like starting slow and testing them to see what's going on. And then just like seeing where that gets you. You will also get an enormous amount of confidence that they're not going to blow up the world if they start doing things correctly. So it's not just for you testing them. It's also really a great confidence for you. Like, okay, I gave them something. They did a great job. Okay, I'm going to give them something else. And then they did a great job. And that boosts your confidence to let them touch more of your stuff. Because it's a mindset shift for you. Mostly. They'll be fine. Yeah. It's more of us freaking out.
So as we're talking about, delegating tasks and having the confidence or not being afraid to, I guess, scale your business by adding on more people. I think one of the first things that we have to ask, how do we start to scale? How do we use systems to start to scale? Do you think well, you said you're a systems nerd, so I'm pretty sure that I know the answer to this question, but do you think systems are like the foundation of scaling an online business or business in general?
Yes. I think systems are the only way to scale. Because if you're doing all the things with paper, let's start there. You're doing all the things on a piece of paper. Now you have to figure out how to get them to your team. If you just use a Google Doc, then they could see it automatically, like a little bit at a time. We have project management software. Everything goes in there. Everyone can see it. I can also see it. So it takes out all of the, oh, I don't know if she's done that yet, and check in. Have you done this? Have you done this? Like I can see what's happening without everyone having to like have meetings about things. Did you do the work? Yes, I did the work. It's all checked off, right? How much time they spent, we time track, we do all that kind of like having those systems means I don't have to micromanage. which I
Nice.
hate it. Hate
Yeah.
micromanaging. I want to do other
Yeah.
things with my time. So yeah, I mean, just being able to find things like those dashboards I was talking about, being able to get the information you need for the SOPs or the link to the whatever, what link are we using in this launch sequence, whatever that is, like having that all easy, then they don't have to come to you and ask. Like that saves you so much time. And then having those kind of the counterbalance of being able to see what they're doing so that you're not following up all the time.
Yeah.
And then you can do other things. And then they know what they're doing. My team knows exactly what they're doing every day. They come in, they look at the thing, they're like, all right, I got it. And then they can do it on their time. They're contractors. So they can they can see the work for the week and just figuring out like, all right, they can schedule their work. It also makes, since it's a contractor, I'm a priority and they know how to work around my work, even if they have other clients, because I'm not dropping things on them at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
So it's
So
much
they're
easier.
already prepared that they know what they have, they see it, and okay.
Yeah.
So how did you know which systems to choose to use?
Oh, I sat here at like 10 o'clock at night on my computer trying them all out. I love a new system. I like getting in there and seeing all the stuff and how the integration works. Yeah, like that's like nerd level 1,000, but yeah.
I love it. And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, I wonder if she uses the same systems that I have. I wonder how she like found her systems. What did she do? Like, was she told how to use them and things? So I think that's very interesting. To go from solopreneur to starting with at least one or two team members, what would be the path that you would suggest someone to take to scaling? And just getting started with it.
Yeah, because that's the hardest part. Once you get started, you can hire another person. But the starting is the hard part. I recommend writing all the tasks down that you do or you'd like someone else to do, and then figuring out what should be delegated first. So if you could write out the 100 tasks in your business, and then let's say 80 of them can be delegated, and then maybe these 15 can be delegated right away. They're pretty easy. They're admin, maybe. That 15 task list then becomes your job description and your kind of plan for this person.
Wow.
Most people hire people because someone said, oh, you should get a VA. And then they get there and the VA is like, what would you like me to do? And they have no idea what to give them. There's no plan. The VA then is not clear as to what to do. You're aggravated because you're spending money on someone who's not really doing anything. So laying out what those tasks are, you can build a very easy job description. Then you can say, this is what I'd like you to do. And then she can or he can go do it. Being clear. That's
you
how
just
to
made
start.
that so easy. I mean, why did that sound? Why'd you make it sound like you were just saying the ABCs? Like, why was that so easy? I mean, literally, I'm listening to you and I'm like, why is it so easy for her? Like, she's just saying it like it's just like, well, it's like I feel like you would teach me how to tie a shoelace, like, well, you take this loop and then you take that one and you wrap it around and then you just pull it tight and voila. Like, it was so easy for you to say that.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for 6 years as my agency. The beginning, it was not easy and it was not pretty. I hired people with absolutely no list of tasks to do, and they didn't do well because I didn't set those expectations. So over the last year, I have put together and I have a agency coaching group program. And I really wanted to distill these ideas down. Like, how did I hire simply? How do you get started in that kind of thing? How do you get the systems that you need to get together so that your team can run well and scale? How can you hire those people? How can you do all these things that you need to do when you're starting to grow a team or an agency? And I tried to distill them down into really simple ideas because it's so overwhelming. Like, business is overwhelming as it is, but when you bring other people in, it's hard. It's like a mindset shift, like all the pieces and the parts, and you're paying someone else and you're like, oh God, they're going to be terrible. Or you're freaking out. It's so stressful. So I was trying to make that as simple as I could.
Wow. And by the way, you just said something, and I don't know if you use that as a tagline, a slogan, or at the name of a program, but you should. You said run well and scale. I don't know if you said that on purpose. You should write it down. Listen, people who know me, they know that when it comes to naming things, I have a knack for it. And that whole run well and scale, Honey, that is you. Make sure you use that. If that
I
could be like
love
your
it.
next coaching program or a course or whatever. I mean, because that's what you do.
Amazing. I am not the branding person. Like, I'm like, when I talk about like what I can do for you, I'm like, I could give you 6 spreadsheets. And everyone's like, no, but you need to like make it more more salesy. And I'm like so literal that there's a reason I'm not in marketing.
I love it. She said, I can give you 6 spreadsheets.
I can list all the things out and make them pretty, but that's not.
Yeah.
Sales
No,
pages are like the
listen.
worst thing for me to have to do.
Listen. Now you have one that run well and scale. That's all you.
I love
That
that.
was beautiful. It came out of your mouth, and I'm like, oh, she said she might not. I wonder if that's how, like, what she calls her coaching program or a course or something, or a package or whatever. It's yeah. Mhm.
No, my coaching program is get your agency together. Because my other side was get your act together. So it was get your agency together. But now I love this run well and scale. So that's gonna have to be somewhere in there.
Listen, it's in Kelly 2.3.4.0 or whatever, like whatever. Well, you've been in business now for how many years?
6.
Wow. So it might be Kelly 6.0, 7.0, whatever it is, but I'm excited and I'm here
I
for
love
it.
it.
I'm totally here for it.
I love
So,
it.
and you've already, even in just this episode, you've actually helped me quite a bit, because the one thing you said when I was like, she makes it sound so easy. You said, write down a list of all the tasks that you have,
Mhm.
and then turn that into your JD, turn that into your job description. Do you know how many times I have, oh, I sound so lazy right now. I sound terrible what I'm about
No,
to
you
say.
don't.
Do you know how many times I've just went on Google or Indeed.com or some other job board and typed in the position that I wanted to have filled, and found all the tasks that somebody else needed done, and I'm like, "Oh, this
Uh-huh.
is what they should do." This could be the reason why my needs weren't met, because my needs were basically the needs of someone else that I said, this is what I
Yeah.
need to do for my business. Oh my gosh, I am having an epiphany, people.
That happens all the time. People don't know how to make a job description. And look, I don't have a huge HR background, but I don't think you need these complicated job descriptions, especially when you're just like beginning. And I see a
Yeah,
ton of job descriptions that are actually like 5 jobs in one. Like one person's never going to do all those things. You're not going to have someone who's doing data entry and your strategy and your market. Like all the things are not in one
right.
person. But that they saw that job description online. I've seen the same one pretty much a couple different places, because everyone does it. They don't know how to make one. They don't know what they need. They don't know what they want. And then they get someone who fits the job description, but it's not what they need. So finding out what
Yeah,
you need and then hiring for that, regardless of the title. People get really wrapped up in titles like, oh, well, I need
yeah,
an OBM. I need whatever.
yeah.
It's not helpful if it's not what you need. So just
Wow.
especially when you're starting out. When you get higher and you've got big teams and there's corporate stuff and you got to worry about that, fine. Figure it out. You can learn how to make better job descriptions. But in the beginning, just figure out what you need. Because then
Now
you'll get
you mentioned
someone. Sorry, good.
no, you go ahead, because then you get someone who
Because then you get someone who gets there and you're like, you know what? I had this happen a couple times on my team. Like they came in on a job description. I love them. They did the work. And I was like, I think you'd be really good at this other thing I'm about to do in my company. Do you want to help me with that? And they've shifted from like
oh,
social
wow.
media to like now being a financial accounts receivable whiz, but they never
Wow.
knew about it. So like that's why kind of coming in and then seeing what they're good at, you can start seeing where they fit different places without getting so
So
stuck in a title.
so would you rather hire someone for the task that they can complete, or because they fit more with your organizational culture? Because you mentioned earlier before that you hire because of is to see whether or not they fit in the culture of with your company. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, well, what if somebody sees the job description and they know that they're not necessarily qualified for all the tasks.
Mhm.
They're like, they see maybe like 2 or 3, and they're like, yeah, I can do some of this, but maybe they're a better fit for the culture of your company,
Mhm.
as opposed to someone who fits all the requirements, but they're not a good fit for the culture. Which would you rather have?
I would rather have the first one hands down. I'd rather have them fit for culture and then I can teach them from there. I think it also depends on what you're hiring for. I hire a lot of operations assistants, operations people that can be then fit into different roles. We have a client coming in they can help me with. If you're trying to hire for one specific thing, if you're trying to hire a branding person, then they need to know branding and they need to fit into your culture. So there are different things like that. And I will also mention that if you are going to hire someone for culture that may not know as many things about the tasks, you have to be willing to train and you have to have time to train. Doesn't take an enormous amount of time, but you have to make the videos. Even if you just record as you're doing the work and then hand it off to them, you still have to do a little bit there. If you just want someone to come in and do it, then they need to know what they're doing. But you're going to pay more for that sometimes too. So like there's a lot of different factors.
So then the question that I would ask then is, I'm really not sounding like a very serious person here. You know, Kelly, I'm listening to these questions in my head before I let them come out of my mouth. And I'm just like, oh, you sound lazy. Like,
you sound exactly normal.
Because I'm like, but what, I mean, I understand you press record, you know, you screen record. So, but what about those who have to talk? You know, it's like you're doing a tutorial. So I have to talk and say, well, now you go do this and you do that. And I'm just like, listen, I'm on a time crunch. I just need to do this really quickly. And
right. Okay. Yes. So let's say the task would take you a minute, and with talking, it'll take you 2 minutes. Now, if you give that to person, if you give someone else that video and they figure it out and now they can do it, you never have to do any minutes of that. But if you do it for 1 minute, next time you have to do it for 1 minute. And the next time you have to do it for 1 minute. So it's a little bit more right now to record and say, okay, click this button, click over here. And that's why I'm saying, like, when I don't spend a ton of time training because we have these videos, but it does take a little time to like walk through the video with someone. So having a little bit of time for that, but I do it on Loom. I turn my camera off. You don't have to be dressed. You don't have to look pretty. You just have to, like, they don't care if your hair is done. They care about finding out what button to click, you know?
Okay.
So you have to remember that if it's faster for you to do right now, but then you're going to have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not faster cumulatively.
See, that's why I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. I
no, but that's exactly
say it.
You're asking all these great questions because they're exactly what other businesses ask me. I get these questions a lot. Like nothing you're saying is out of the ordinary for me. Like these are the questions I get.
Okay, so the thing with using Loom or you know any other screen recording software, you know, for me, I'm just like, so you leave your little avatar up there, you know, just the picture up there. And
my pretty picture with the makeup on and everything. Yeah, that's up there. I can be like, there are days where I get dressed to go to work, but I'm not like camera ready. So, like Mondays and Fridays, I don't do calls and I'm not exactly camera ready. So like turn the screen. You don't have to have your camera on for that. They just want the knowledge. We get so in our heads with our ego about like, oh, I have to look pretty and all that. Like no one cares.
Yeah.
They don't have to see you.
I'm going to not right now, not next week either, but eventually.
Well, this is what the hard thing is.
Third or fourth quarter, 2025. I am going to 2025. I was still talking about, you know.
But that's why we have this business, because we love creating this stuff. Most people do not, and they don't have time. So we can come in and take all of this information, put it in one place that's really easy to find, and then it's done. Because it's never the most important thing in your business for you to be doing. And I almost would argue that you shouldn't be doing it. Like you have better things to do. So that's why we come in and help you. Yeah, you have better things to do.
I do.
You don't need to sit there typing up SOPs for the rest of your life. No. And that's the thing. We guilt ourselves into saying we should do it. It's like when you get a cleaning lady. You have this enormous guilt that you should be cleaning the bathroom because that's what you should be doing. Like, right? Like as a mom, as a woman, I don't know, whatever. All the guilt. And then you get the cleaning lady. You're like, this is pretty nice. I have other things to do.
Why did you bring up the cleaning lady? Can I tell you that I am embarrassed. Can I tell you that I not only did I show my cleaning lady like how to clean, because everybody does not clean on the same standard, right? No. So I showed her how to clean. And, you know, a couple of times I actually cleaned with her. And I'm like, Charity, you are doing the most. You are paying someone else so that you can clean with them. Please go do some work.
If it makes you feel better, I don't have a cleaning lady. We did for a little bit before COVID. I didn't like anything they did. I was totally that person at home that I don't let myself be in my business. Like in my business, I'd be like, let's be clear. Like all the rules. At home, I'm like, this bathroom isn't the right way. I don't I don't like the way she's cleaning anything. So don't feel bad. I'm not perfect over here. I'm just working through it. And I'm much better in my business than I am with my own stuff.
I'm happy to hear that. I
Yes,
am happy
I'm
to
not
hear
perfect
that. I
over
haven't
here.
had a I haven't had a cleaning lady in this entire year because of that. Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah. So I just said I'd rather do it myself. And
Uh-huh.
then, you get busy and then sometimes you don't do it. So you
Uh-huh.
go like an extra week or two without doing it. It's just like, you know what? I might need that cleaner lady now. I might need that cleaner lady.
I have an old dog who sheds white hair like it's snowing in my house. So yes, I understand.
It's just like, you know what? I might need some help, but I'm trying not to micromanage the help, So at any rate, okay. Kelly, this has been absolutely, well, I don't know. Like I said, I feel seen. Like I feel like
I'm
you were
glad.
really, I feel like you were on me a little bit. Which you should be, of course, but because somebody has to get me together. At the end of close to the end of every episode, when I have a guest, I do like to ask them all the same question because everyone gives a different answer. So my question to you is, what is one characteristic that every Entreleader, every leader, every, entrepreneur, anyone who is in an influential position, what is one characteristic that they must have?
Commitment all the way. You
Oh,
need
Lord.
business, life, kids, all of it. It's hard. There's bad days, there's good days, like knowing that you are just going to show up every day no matter what happens.
Yeah.
That's what gets you through. If you start a business when it's only good, you're going to get this false sense of like, oh, it's always nice. Like sometimes bad things will happen and you just have to keep going. And that is how you're going to get your team through, like saying, you know what, we're going to be fine. We're all going to work together. We're going to figure it out. So that commitment to just showing up, I think is so important as a leader, not just to like for yourself, but also as a leader to show other people that it's going to be okay.
I love that. I don't think I've had anyone in all of my 72 episodes now. I don't think I've ever had anyone say commitment.
Oh,
I think
good.
you may have
I'm
said
glad.
dedication and discipline, but I don't think anyone has said commitment. So yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. How can people get in touch with you?
I'm everywhere as Reynolds OBM, online business manager. So ReynoldsOBM.com, Instagram, Facebook, we're there. You can come and see all the things, help get systematized. Or if you are looking to grow into your business, I offer agency coaching as private and as group coaching.
I love it. So she mentioned agency coaching, meaning that if you want to, maybe you are a virtual assistant now, or maybe you've gotten to the point to where you're like, listen, I have a few friends who are also virtual assistants. We can turn this thing into an enterprise, a digital business, but you need some help. You need that guidance, that guideline. You need someone who's done it already to show you how you can do it. Then Kelly is the person to check out. Make sure you connect with her. She already told you, she gave you an invitation to check out her Instagram and Facebook. And also you can connect with her on her email, which is kelly@reynoldsobm.com.
And I love questions. I love questions.
Well, you know what? You have answers, that's for sure. Because I was firing away a lot of questions today and you had answers. And I'm so grateful for that. So I appreciate that. And don't forget, you can also visit her on her website, ReynoldsOBM.com. All of these links, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of the podcast, all of these links can be found in the show notes. And if you're watching the video version on YouTube, then you can also check the description box below to be able to connect with Kelly. Kelly, thank you so much for being in the Leaders Lab with us today. I enjoyed this. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
I did too. This was so fun. I love talking about this stuff, and it was so great to be here with you. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Listen, Entreleaders, I hope that you fully enjoyed this episode as much as I did, if not more. And I hope that you have some key takeaways. That whole mindset shift. I feel really attacked on that one because I know I need to do that to go from being someone who you bring on the overwhelming sensation yourself because you won't delegate. 2023, we're going to do it. No, I'm just joking. We're going to start working on it now. We're going to start working on it now. And we have Kelly who can help us out. Don't forget that you can also connect with me on social media everywhere at DrCharityTV. And if you are interested in being interviewed or a guest on the Leaders Lab podcast for season 3, which is next year, you can send us an email to the Leaders Lab podcast at DrCharityTV.com. We have some big things that we are working on here with season 2 and season 3 that will be coming. And I know you're like, but it's still the middle of 2022. You're already planning for season 3. Yes, we are. We're on the move. And so make sure that you stay connected. And I can't thank you enough for every single week tuning in from all over the world. You guys sure know how to make a girl feel like so special. I appreciate that so much. And I hope that whatever I bring to you and our very special guests bring to you, that they not only encourage you and help you build your confidence as a leader, but that they help you really iron out the wrinkles, help you overcome that frustration and fear and procrastination that we often face as Entreleaders. So listen, that's all I have for you today with this very special episode with our special guest, Kelly Reynolds. And I will see you all next week in the lab.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders Lab podcast. Visit our website at www.drcharitytv.com.